when it comes to Resident Evil, it always starts with fear. But not all fear hits the same, am I right? And as much as I enjoyed my playthrough of Resident Evil Requiem, there's just some things that don't sit right with me. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the 5 things that I hated about Resident Evil Requiem. These are in no specific order, just some things that I found purely frustrating. Let's get to it. The first thing I didn't like about Resident Evil Requiem was going back to Raccoon City. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand and I even appreciate the nostalgia. Raccoon City is where everything began, especially for Leon. But let's just keep it real for 1 second. Raccoon City was nuked, erased, gone, finished. Resident Evil 3 made that very clear for us. So now in Requiem, you're telling me there is a fully functioning underground lab, still intact, still operational, it still has electricity like nothing ever happened. I mean, what's this lab made out of, cockroach material? Because the last time I checked, a nuclear strike doesn't just politely skip the basement. Oh no, the contract said just destroy the first and the second stories and leave the basement alone. This to me felt a lot less like storytelling and more like fan service with a loophole. So I honestly feel like they could have took the story to a new area the same way they did with Resident Evil Biohazard and then with Resident Evil Village. Still Ethan, different area. The second issue I have with Resident Evil Requiem is sending my homegirl GA, that's what I call her in my playthrough. Check out the link to my playthrough below. But sending Grace back to the Wrenwood Hotel. Now, here is why this part is particularly frustrating for me. And I'm literally rubbing my temples as I say this. Because here you have an FBI director, a seasoned professional, and you send Grace, someone who's clearly traumatized, back to the exact place where the trauma happened to begin with, and she gets no backup, no support, no partner. You literally send Shorty on just vibes, like just go out there and do you, figure it out. I believe in you. But one quick second, let's just take a look at Grace's workspace. Look at her desk. Look at the area around her desk. Look at all the folders and papers. Does that desk look like someone who's mentally ready to face their demons? I don't think so. Absolutely not. And then there was the investigative report. The investigative report was written by a special agent named Kyle Ames. Why isn't Buddy here? At least assistant. You didn't even give me a cell phone to call you in case I need backup. You know what it feels like? It feels like you're in school, right? And your classmate does a full book report on a particular book. But when it's time to present the book report, the teacher calls you up to present it. And you're like, yo, miss, this is not my book report. Why I gotta present it? And she says to you, nah, you've walked past a library once, right? So you got it. Like, make this make sense to me. The third thing I hated about the Resident Evil Requiem game is Grace being a nobody. Now this is where I almost checked out, and if I'm being honest, I lied earlier. There is an order. This is the one I hate the most. So you're telling me Grace isn't special? Hold on, come here for a second. Come closer. No, seriously, come here. You see all these little girls? The ones that had me hiding under tables and beds? You see the Mamaduke? Yes, I said Mamaduke. That's what I call her through my playthrough. You see how she had me running around this clinic like Flojo, scaring me in real life? I'm almost wetting myself, sitting in my room crying a little, just a little. You see Emily, blind Emily in that cage? You see the coffins? All of those coffins in the crypt? You see all of these failed experiments? every single one of them failed attempts to recreate her? You're telling me it was all for nothing? That there was no significance, no purpose? That reveal has to be one of the worst video game reveals I've ever seen. You know what it felt like? It felt like the TV show Lost, if you watched Lost, where it was great all of these seasons, and then the reveal came and it was confusing and underwhelming. And by the end, you were just like, yeah, bro, let's just wrap this up. I get it. Y'all run out of story to tell. I get it. The fourth thing that I hated about Resident Evil Requiem was Oswald Spencer's change of heart. Now, if you don't know who Oswald Spencer is, that's just another reason for you to go check out my playthrough. Because in my playthrough, I not only play through Requiem, but I also break down the entire history of the Resident Evil franchise from before the Umbrella Corporation was founded, and I break down what's going on in the Resiverse. Yeah, that's what I call it, the Resiverse. So now you regret it? Talking about Oswald Spencer, now you regret it? After decades of experiments, countless deaths, countless bioweapons, not to mention the Wesker Children Project. Now you have a conscience, bro? Let's not forget, this entire franchise exists because Spencer had a god complex. He didn't believe humanity should evolve naturally. No, he believed humanity should be forced forward, reshaped, controlled, perfected. That's not a mistake. That's not something that you come up with on a drunk night with your homeboys. Bro, that's an ideology. So when the game tries to tell me he suddenly regrets everything, nah, bro. I'm sorry, but shut up talking to me. Shut up talking to me. There is no redemption arc for you, bro. You get no sympathy from me because you're in a wheelchair and you're in an oxygen tank. You knew exactly what you were doing. The fifth and final thing I hated about Requiem is more of like a funny hate than an actual hate. And I think everybody is going to be in agreement with me on this one. And that's the great value Wesker, Zeno. Like, do I even need to further explain this one? I mean, this man walks in like he's him. But we all like, bro, we didn't invite you. We invited Wesker, sir. We invited Albert Wesker, not you. You know what Zeno is like? I don't know if you've ever had a friend or somebody, and every time this friend comes around, he shows up with a completely different girl, like a random girl. So you invite this friend to your wedding, you give him a +1, he puts the +1 down, you cool with the +1, and then he shows up to the wedding with somebody completely different, and you and your homeboys are standing back like, yeah, bro, that's not who we had in mind when we put that invitation out. That's what Zeno is. He's not intimidating. He's just there. And the problem is that Resident Evil is a franchise that's full of iconic villains. And then you have this dude right here. Now, with all that being said, I don't want you to mistaken and take away from this that I didn't like the game. Resident Evil Requiem is still a fantastic game. In fact, I rank it as number 2 in all the Resident Evil games I've played, second only to Resident Evil 2, because let's be honest, that game is kind of goated. But the atmosphere, the tension, the gameplay, I think it's a strong return after Resident Evil Village. And I genuinely hope, like legit, genuinely hope that this isn't the last we see of Grace, because I love her evolution throughout the game. She starts off timid and scary, and then when she finds out what's really going on, like, she really locks in. The compassion that she showed Emily and really trying to save her really reached out to me as a player. And then I also hope that in the future we get some Rose Winters gameplay. I would love to see how Rose's story developed. Now, if you enjoyed this breakdown, you can check out my full Resident Evil Requiem playthrough, where I don't just run for my life and scream in patois. I also break down the entire lore of the Resident Evil franchise while running for my life and screaming in patois, let's be honest. This has been a production from Reniverse Gaming. I am your boy Rennie, and as always, reminding you, don't get lost in the Reniverse. See you soon.